All right. Hello, everybody. I'll wait for some people to come in. If you can hear me or if you can't hear me, on the other hand, let me know how it goes. And I'll see if I can edit the volume. Hello, hello. How are we doing? I'm gonna stay here for about just under an hour today. Feel free to ask me any questions and I will answer them. Or wait for some more people to come on in. And as always, I will save this so you can always watch it back if you didn't manage to hit it up this time. Hello, hello, hello. Please feel free to ask any questions that you want. As per my normal rule of not talking too much politics, just because I don't think that it's the main important thing. We're not going to be chatting politics today, but do feel free to ask me anything else. It's been a while. It has been a while. It's been a while since I've done these live streams because basically I've moved my live streams to Patreon. So I do live streams there. Well, not live stream. We have like a live chat once every month, which is really nice. It's a nice little community there. So if you do feel like you want to see me live more often or you want to chat with me on a more personal level, then feel free to consider becoming part of my Patreon community. It is very warm today. I don't know if it is like how warm it is where everyone else is. I also don't know where you guys are joining me from the world. Pop it in the comments where you're joining me from. It would be really interesting to hear because I'm in the UK and it is just past lunchtime, 1:30, and it is very hot. It's really warm. It's 9:30 p.m. from Japan. Hey Masaki, how you doing? No news from the DPRK when they will open the borders. Okay, so that's the first question that we have. Unfortunately, okay, so people from Europe, Netherlands, Spain, Japan, we've got like a whole little community here of people everywhere. So keep asking your questions and I'll answer them as I go. I'll try and be quick with every one of them. No news from when the DPRK will reopen their borders. No, unfortunately. Basically not. It will be a while because we have to first wait until China opens because China is the gateway to North Korea. Also Russia, I guess, but basically North Korea was the first country to close its borders because of COVID. It will be the last country to reopen them. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but it will be a long time before we can get back to North Korea, before I can get back to North Korea, and before I can start taking tours there, which is why, I haven't been uploading any more like recently taken content and stuff, but I do have this massive backlog of stuff, so hopefully it should keep you guys all entertained in terms of, fun stuff or interesting stuff in the DPRK. Is it as warm? I know we've got a few people. So in Japan, in the Netherlands and Spain, are you guys going through a crazy heat wave as well? Because next week in the UK, it's going to be 38 degrees. And I'm sorry, guys, but you guys know we love, as British people, absolutely love talking about the weather. So I'm sorry to start it off like this. But basically, we're going through a heat wave of 38 degrees, which is crazy, crazy hot. I don't know if you guys are going through that as well. Heat wave is killing us in Spain. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine what it must be like in Spain right now. What kind of temperatures do you have in Spain? Oh my gosh. It must be crazy. So Corvus asked, despite you not being able to talk about politics here, do you actually keep up with political developments concerning the DPRK from their point of view? No need to go into detail, obviously. That's a really nicely worded question. So thank you for your really nice question, actually. And I really appreciate the knowledge that I don't go too far into politics. It's not that I am not able to talk politics. I'm very much able to talk politics. Indeed, my master's degree is all about politics, and it's not as if anyone's stopping me from doing it publicly. However, I don't like it because that's just not my aim of the channel. So, yeah, anyway, you guys all know that. So do you actually keep up with political developments concerning the DPRK? Yes, very much so. More than the average person, I would say. I'm very interested in what the DPRK is up to, very interested what's happening. NK News is a really interesting and good organization to follow for that. They have like, the most recent and most reliable sources of information. So would really recommend that if you're interested in learning more about the politics of the DPRK. And your specific question was also about from their point of view. And I can't say that I get too much into the politics in terms of their point of view because I think mainly for that kind of stuff, you have to engage with KCNA media, so the Korean national, North Korean national media. And my Korean's not so good with that. So, I try and keep an idea of what's going on in the country. But yeah, in terms of reading through their media, not so much actually. I suspect possibly a secret agent. Yeah, I'm not surprised that you suspect me to be a secret agent. It's actually really funny because the amount of people that say that I'm a secret agent or that I'm a spy, I literally have the same response every single time is that I really wish that I was. Like it would be so much cooler if I was. And yet I'm not. All I am is a tour guide in North Korea and I make videos and take photos there, videos and photos, which by the way, everyone else can take and do as well. Um, and so yeah, it's actually not that very glamorous. Wish I was a spy. I could be the next James Bond, I reckon. Quim, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, by the way. What's the standard of living for the average North Korean, especially outside of big cities like Pyongyang? Really tricky question. And also it changes a lot. Most of the things that I will talk about are pre-COVID. So the last time that I went to North Korea was January 2020. And so that's basically where my knowledge of the inside the country stops, aside from what you hear in the media and what you can find out about in the media. And so basically, I find it really hard to say the average how an average person does. So if you take Pyongyang out of the equation, it makes it easier because the citizens of Pyongyang, to be honest, just like in a lot of other capital cities, really do live, in their own little bubble. And life is a lot easier, and they have a lot more bars and cafes, and they spend money on stuff, and they have luxuries and stuff. Um, I don't know who just gave away, the fact that I'm moving the place I'm moving to. Anyway, sorry, my eyes just went to the comments. In terms of the average, it's really difficult to say, but basically, it is not one of the richest countries in the world, that's for sure. Um, and it depends on your status as a person. It depends on your ranking, like, your class structure or your songbun, that's what they call it. And this basically depends on, your family, what you've been doing in life, blah, blah, blah. And then basically, it just, yeah, it's very, 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 very hard to make an average. Um, yeah, it's really tricky for me to say an average, but I think that that would be true of any country. So their lives are not easy. Yeah, lives are not easy, but also I can't make an average in for any other country. I hope that kind of answers your question a little bit. It probably doesn't at all. JP Simmons, 20 degrees at the moment, but expected heat wave coming in 40. I can't believe that it's hotter in the UK right now. And yeah, we're expecting 38 degrees next week, which is the first time that I have ever seen 38 in the UK, which is crazy. Um, so I was planning on telling everyone what I'm going to be up to in the next few months. So I guess since it's out in the comments, I will let everyone know. Um, if you're interested, that basically, so for the last, since COVID, a quick timeline. COVID, January 2020, COVID messes up the world a little bit, and the DPRK closes. I then, through a series of weird events, get stuck on a island in the middle of the South Pacific called Tonga for a year and a half, where I did my MA in international communications. And then I came back to London and I did an MSc in international relations. And now I plan on going to Taiwan to study my PhD. Yeah. And SK asks, aren't you afraid of moving to Taiwan mostly because of what happened in the past couple of months? So I guess you are referring to, Ukraine and Russia. And basically, no, I'm not scared. I think that it actually was the first thing that, was on my dad's mind. He was like, you can't go to Taiwan. Look what might happen. For me, I don't think about those kind of things too much unless it poses an immediate and real risk. It's not as if I'm super daring and I do things without thinking. But for me, the risk of anything happening in Taiwan is just too it's not immediate for me, and so I don't see why I would want to let that affect me from basically not going to do my PhD there. And also, there's it's not on the minds of I think it's on the minds of Western people more than it is on the Taiwanese people. I mean, if you're Taiwanese and you're listening to this, then do try and do argue that with me. If you don't think it's right, I'd like to hear your opinion. But from the Taiwanese people that I've spoken to, um, I think it's on the minds of Western people more than Taiwanese people. So if they're not worried about it, then I'm not going to worry about it. And Corvus, just whilst we're on this topic, and since you asked, what's your PhD on? I will be doing a PhD in like politics and international development, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Sapphire asks a really good question. Out of all of the places in North Korea you've been to, what's your favorite? Really good question. And I think I'd have to have like a top three. Number one, that is always my favorite place to go to, is Nampo. It's a really random one. So Nampo is in the basically west coast of North Korea, and it's about an hour away from Pyongyang. So you basically drive to it. It's about an hour away or about 2 hours away from Pyongyang. It's quite a random place. It's right next to the sea. I've actually published a video about like people having fun on the seaside there. Um, the thing that I like about it most is where you stay at night and just the vibe that you have. It like is so much fun. The guides really like to go there. The hot spa resort that you go to is very dated. It was good for what it was at the time, but now it's very dated. And basically, um, it's just a really fun evening because you can't you're on like a hot spring resort area, so you can walk around, and you can walk to and from the restaurant, but you can go to the swimming pool, you can have like a hot spa in your room. But the most fun thing is that the guides really like being there, and they can really like relax and have clam petrol barbecue with you, and also have soju and drinking, and it always turns out to be a bit of a messy one and a bit of a fun one at Nampo. So that's why I really like it. My second one for this question that I'll run through super quick is I really like going to Chilbosan because it's absolutely beautiful. So Chilbosan is in the northeast of North Korea, and it's very hard to get to. You have to get an internal flight in order to get there. It's not visited by very many people. It's very kind of closed off from the rest of the tourism world of North Korea. So it's a very interesting place because of that, but mainly I love it because it is gorgeous. It is absolutely beautiful. Mountains, hikes, lakes, rivers. It is just, and the sea, it's amazing. I've got some pictures. If you want some pictures, I'll show you that. Maybe I'll make a video if you're interested, but it is just gorgeous. Um, and then, um, we have, what do we have as my third one? I just love being in Pyongyang. I out of all the places we've been in North Korea, I love Pyongyang, basically because I know more people there, and I do end up running into people that I know. Yeah. So, it's just nice for me to feel familiar in a place. Quim, are you aware if there are any student visas or programs to study abroad in the UK? There kind of is and kind of isn't. Basically, if you want to study in the DPRK, then you really need to kind of know someone in there or have at least a few connections. There used to be more official study abroad programs. They've stopped as far as I'm aware, or there's definitely, I don't think that they're going on like they used to. Um, Maybe they will start again. There also used to be a teaching program, I think by the British Council, to send in teachers to do teaching in North Korea. So there are things that go on like that, but at the moment, certainly because of COVID, it's finished. But before COVID, I don't think that there was any official thing. But I do know of a couple of people who studied there with some kind of connection to the country in one way or another. Um, so next, if I don't answer your questions, by the way, do like keep them coming. It might be that your question gets lost in the comments. Corvus, I think I asked your question, answered your question on what's your PhD on. JP Simmons, a really good question. How did you become a tour guide in the DPRK? Do you want the long story or do you want the short story? Mm, Basically, I went there as a tourist, as most people and as most tour guides do. You go there as a tourist first, and then you decide for one reason or another that being a tour guide there is something that you want to do. And that's exactly what happened with me. So I went there in, I think, 2015 or 2016. And I think it was 2015. And then, or maybe 2016. Either way, I went there and I fell in love with basically the same message that I put out now, even today. The fact that the DPRK is, pleasantly underwhelming. There are people there that just go about their normal lives, and it's not all politics, it's not all rockets, it's not all, craziness. And so I wanted to basically, yeah, send that message to other people. And I still believe in the positive impact that tourism has in North Korea, and that's why I continue to promote it. And so anyway, basically I was living in Japan when I went to North Korea for the first time. And then I went back to the UK, finished my undergraduate degree, and at that time the tourist company who I originally worked for, they were hiring. And so yeah, one thing led to another, and I moved to China and started working in there straight away. And that's basically it, how I became a tour guide in the DPRK. I think a lot of people are really looking for some kind of like really fun comment there. But I just don't have a fun story for that. Okay, so SK. Can foreigners invest in the DPRK? Yes and no. There's more Chinese investment than anything else. You should be careful when investing in the DPRK because of sanctions and stuff like that. It's not impossible, but it's tricky. Yeah. Nico, have you ever thought about studying in the DPRK? I've definitely thought about studying in the DPRK. In reality, it's entirely impractical and not beneficial. I would only do it for the novelty of it, but I think that's a silly reason to do it at the university, for a degree. However, um, what you can do in the DPRK, which I forgot to mention, which is actually really cool, is if you are interested in studying at university in the DPRK, you can book onto a language course. And this is something that I would totally do. If I wanted to, I want to study the Korean language, right? And I'm still studying it like every day, and it's super difficult. Anyway, you can book onto like a month-long tour and study a language program there. If you want to stay longer, you can also stay longer. And it's usually at one of the universities. So that's a pretty cool experience, and that is definitely something I would do. But in terms of, a full-on degree, an undergraduate or a postgraduate, in reality, no, it just, yeah, it would be more effort than it's worth. I make music. When will you go to the DPRK again? So that's a very good question. I will go to the DPRK again as soon as I can, basically. I'll go when the borders open up. And if you missed that, we kind of chatted about the start, so I won't go over it again. But the DPRK will not open for a while, at least a few months. Definitely not this year, maybe next year, potentially the year after. Basically, due to COVID, take a look at China. As soon as China opens up, then you can start thinking, okay, I wonder when DPRK will open up. But so far, China's still shut as ever. PJ O'Donovan, what would you say is the worst thing about North Korea? That's a really interesting question and really tricky to answer. I've never been asked that about any country before. Worst thing about the DPRK? I really dislike, and it's the same actually. I have the same dislike with Beijing. It's not a country, but I have this same thing with Beijing. But the thing that comes to mind the most is the weather in winter and the cold, because it is that really dry, biting cold. It's horrible. And when I look back, that is what stands out for me as a thing that I just really don't like about the DPRK. Minus 20 degrees, walking around, having to take tourists around in minus 20 degrees, not wanting to get off the bus. It's not very nice. Hi, Felicia. How was your day? I'm new, but you seem great. Thanks for joining us for the first time. This will probably be this is my first live stream this year, I think, and it will definitely be my last one. But if anyone is interested in following my live streams, like in a live chat and a more of a personal chat, do feel free to hop over to my Patreon and have a look and hopefully join us for some live Zooms there. I recently changed a few things on my Patreon. So, like the tier system, it's basically all the same price for everyone. I didn't want to be like exclusive and only have some things that other people can't afford, blah, blah, blah. So, everything is the same price on my Patreon. I basically have it so that you can support me. If you want to support me, join in our chats. If you would really love to join in a chat but just can't afford it, whatever, like you're having difficulties doing it, let me know. Contact me on Instagram or here, and you know what, we'll sort something out. Um, Okay, so Felicia, really funny and interesting question. A bit random, but I've been stuck on the train for 6 hours and all the bathrooms are closed. Never had to pee so bad in my life. So probably something similar, because the trains in the getting the train in and out of North Korea, it's a 24-hour train journey pretty much from Beijing. It's only a 2-hour flight from Beijing, but 24-hour train journey pretty much door to door. And yeah, sometimes those toilets get, blocked, or there's someone in there, or they get locked, especially when crossing the border. Actually, the toilets get locked, I think. So there have been some times where I've been on that train and been like, I really need you guys to open the toilet door. JP Simmons booked a tour into the DPRK just before the COVID pandemic started and the tour got cancelled. No, that's a really big shame. I'm really sorry to hear that. Hopefully, which tour company did you book through? I'm wondering if it was Choreo Tours, who I work for. Um, Hopefully, the DPRK can open up again and you can get on your tour again. It's the only thing we can hope for. Fabiso, does the DPRK have many TV shows running on their TV channels? Yeah, and they're constantly like getting more and more. So I would say they're probably about, in comparison, around. I'm trying to think about what I had when it was 10 years ago. Maybe like 10 or 20 years behind in terms of the TV that you can kind of expect. So imagine your TV 20 years ago. We had about like 5 or 6 channels, right? And it was color TV, 5 or 6 channels. That's pretty much what they have. And they've started to have things like sports, drama, news. There's a kids TV channel as well, a whole kids TV channel. And so it's kind of stuff like that, basically. And every time I ask them, they have like a new TV channel actually, or like a new TV program. They have a lot of dramas. Yeah, dramas, and I've seen some like films being shown, stuff like that. You can watch the DPRK TV when you're in North Korea, in your hotel room. I don't understand much of it. But yeah, basically, um, that's it. Who knows now because I haven't been there for a while. Yeah. Quim, how available is foreign media in the DPRK in terms of music and movies? Very good question. So, not readily available, depending on what it is, although more available than you might think. There's one place in GPRK that comes to mind as a place that has a lot more access to foreign movies and music, and that would be the Grand People Study House, which is the big, what's it called? The big library in North Korea. It's like North Korea's national library, and there you can go and rent out foreign books, also ebooks, not ebooks, audiobooks, and things like watch movies, listen to music. You can do a lot of that stuff there. I remember the last time I was there. You know what? It was actually quite cute. The last time I was there, I went with one of my, obviously with one of my colleagues, one of the tour guides, the North Korean tour guides, and oh, it was actually quite cute. It was so naive. So we went in and audiobooks had just started becoming a thing. So they have this, and basically you buy the file. So you purchase this file and then it goes onto your phone, onto your smartphone. And so he had gone in and he'd heard that you could get Harry Potter recently. And so he went in and he went off. I was looking after the tourists, and he went off and he got the Harry Potter file on his phone. And he came back and he says to me like, "Oh yeah, I got Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban." And I was like, "Oh, cool, like nice. Have you read or listened to the first one and the second one?" And he was like, "There's a first one and a second one." He started out on the third one, and I don't know if that was the only available one at the library at the time, but it was quite cute and naive that he didn't know, and he just, accidentally bought the third one to go straight into. But I found that quite cute. So in terms of things, whatever is allowed into the country is pretty readily available, but things that aren't allowed are obviously not so readily available. But USBs and stuff like that get passed around a lot. Mm. So, okay, PJ O'Donovan. Just the opposite question. What's your favorite thing about the DPRK? Always the same answer I have to this question, and a lot easier to ask and to answer than the things that I like the least is the people. Korean people are amazing. And, by that I mean South Korean people and North Korean people. They are so similar and they're just amazing. And the North Koreans are naive a lot of the time. They're very cute. They're very lovely. They're very accommodating. They're just amazing people. And so I would really say the people and also the landscapes, but the people, they're so much fun. And, they're just like normal people, to be honest. And I just love it. Nico, is playing football with North Koreans possible? I would be eager to do so if I visited the DPRK. So it is, but this is the thing that is always tricky for me to answer because a lot of the time people ask me, are situations set up and are people actors and stuff like that. But then people ask me, okay, we want to play volleyball with the North Koreans or we want to play football with the North Koreans. And I'm like, well, okay, we have to kind of facilitate that, right? We have to kind of get people together to play football with you or get people together to play volleyball with you. And that's not to say that we're like getting actors and stuff together. It's just a case of like how do you envision playing football with North Koreans? It's definitely possible, but it would have to be a facilitated game with North Koreans because I mean, like, unless you were, if we were walking past a park and you were to see them kicking a ball around, of course you can go and kick the ball around with them. I don't know, they might get annoyed if they're having a serious game, but like, yeah, sure. Um, but otherwise, yeah, I just don't see how it's possible. So yeah, totally, it can be facilitated. We can make it happen. Yeah, and also, when you go and finish. So I've like actually a good few times at schools we've played football with the North Koreans on a school visit. Again, if you were to come to the DPRK just to play football with North Koreans and then we went on a school visit and it didn't happen, that's because it's not all orchestrated, you know? We can't make it so that, oh my gosh, everything, these foreigners are coming to the school and they want to play football with you, so you have to make it. It's just we've rocked up at schools before, and if the kids are on break or whatever, then they're playing football outside. Yeah, you can play with them. I've got some videos. I don't know if I've posted them yet. One in a school in Chongjin in the northeast, and then a few others. Actually, in Rasong we played football as well. There's a few. So yeah, it's totally possible. Nate Pano, great stream. Do you have other channels or platforms where you talk more about geopolitics? I have friends who are PhDs in political science who've been to the DPRK, and I'd love to get your views. Yes. So if anyone wants to talk politics with me, head over to my Patreon. I'm basically doing a once a month live Q&A. Not live Q&A, it's more like a live chat, and there we can talk about anything. It's a very safe community, and if you want to talk about politics, we can talk about politics there, and I can give you all my opinions. Like I said, it's never the main aim of my channel to talk about politics. It's actually, I want to forget about politics by doing this, but of course politics is a big part of my life, and I'm just about to start a PhD in it pretty much. So I'm very happy for anyone to join me on Patreon. Like I just said before, I've changed my tier system, so anyone can join in the live Q&A stuff. Anyone can pay for it with any kind of tiers. Blah blah blah. They're all like this. You get the same thing from each tier. So feel free to join me there if you like. Otherwise, you can find me on my channels on Twitter now, apparently, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, obviously. But anything that's public like that, I stay away from politics. That's just not what I'm about. JP Simmons, yes, it was Choreo Tours, and I'm still planning to go as soon as DPRK in China opens up. Cool. Well, then I could very much be your tour guide when we go to the DPRK together, JP Simmons. I hope so. I'm curious which tour you booked on to go on. I actually had a tour with my dad booked in May 2020. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go on that one. Never mind. Oh, Sapphire, you said Koreans and their dramas. I'm not sure what that refers to. Oh, Koreans and their dramas. Yeah, because Koreans love dramas, and I was talking about the TV before. Yeah. South Koreans, North Koreans, everyone loves TV dramas. Cybernauta, where are most foreigners in North Korea from? Most foreigners in North Korea are from Russia, China or Russia. Yeah, definitely. But there are obviously more different people from different countries as well. The DPRK has about 20 or 30 what are they called, embassies in the country. I can't remember exactly how many. I've got a video on it actually. There's about 20 or 30. Obviously, foreigners live there as well. Adam Lother, is cosmetic products and plastic surgery popular in North Korea as it is in South Korea? Very good question. It's not as popular, but it is popular. A lot of North Koreans have started getting the double eyelid surgery. I've definitely seen some who have got it. I hear that it's getting more and more popular, but it's definitely nowhere near as popular as in South Korea, because South Korea is, of course, like the big, plastic surgery place. And also it's a luxury, plastic surgery is a luxury. Mrs. Casual Flipper, does North Korea have any foreign fast food restaurants, products, and goods and services? Yeah, a surprising amount. Not tons, but there's a lot. For example, there is a foreign fast food chain. Don't quote me on this, but I think that it's a Singaporean venture fast food burger chain. They have like a lot of restaurants throughout the country, actually, in Pyongyang mainly. I think they have some maybe outside of Pyongyang as well. And it's basically, we call it the McDonald's of North Korea. That's not actually what it's called. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I'll try and put in the notes at the bottom later. But yeah, they're a foreign fast food chain. Restaurants, there's also foreign investment restaurants. For example, there are some Chongryon restaurants, which is the basically the Japanese DPRK ones, and then there is, there's a variety, but not much. You're not going to find a Starbucks. You're not going to find a McDonald's, stuff like this. But there are, and in terms of products, there's actually a lot of foreign products. So you can find foreign products in most supermarkets, not most shops. Most shops will only sell DPRK stuff or Chinese stuff. Like, I'm talking like small shops, but like bigger department stores or supermarkets, they will at least sell a lot of Chinese stuff, if not also foreign products. Sometimes you get the most random things that rock up in the DPRK. I'm like, how did you get here? You're a really random foreign product. In terms of goods and services, I'm not really sure what would constitute a foreign service. Um, the internet in North Korea actually is actually provided by an Egyptian company, I think. So that is a foreign service that's provided in the UK. An example of one. They definitely do exist. And yeah, I think it's an Egyptian company, and that is the internet. So that is the actual normal internet that we have, and you can get it on a SIM card. It's available only to foreigners. Yeah. Um, does the DPRK have sports cars? No, I can't say whether they do or not, but I've never seen one. Yeah, and it's probably off sanctions to get any in there. Thabi, so does the DPRK have a national football league, and do they broadcast their games? Yeah, they have. I mean, the DPRK is, a big football team. Actually, there's a really nice story of how they pretty much got to the semi-finals of the World Cup. This was years ago. I think back in the 1960s or 70s. Any football nerds out there, do let me know in the comments so we can make sure to get this right. It's a very interesting story. I'm gonna post in the like in the live stream notes, a really amazing film for you to watch called The Game of Their Lives, and 1966, nice one. So you know about it, right? They were in the World Cup, and there's a really good film called The Game of Their Lives. I'm gonna write it here. Uh, the Game of Their Lives. You can watch it on Vimeo. You do have to buy or rent it, but it is an amazing football film, and it tells the story of how this football team from the GPRK got to the semi-finals in the World Cup, and then you see the players go back to Middlesbrough. Which is where they're playing in the UK. They go back to Middlesbrough and they visit everything and go back from it. It's a really sweet, really nice story. Just quickly, Zephyr asked, "Are you in North Korea right now?" No, I am in London right now. I haven't been to North Korea since January 2020. Stephen Brody, has your connections to North Korea outcasted you anywhere in the UK? I live in China and often get some flack for it when I go to England. Really good question. No, generally, no. I am not able to work for any government jobs in the UK, but that's basically mainly a lot to do with the fact that I've been living out of the UK for too long anyway. So I wouldn't be allowed to do that. And then, like with my friends and family, my friends and family are generally quite understanding. I have some friends that are a bit against it, but they know me as a person, and so it's just one of those things that we don't really discuss. We have different opinions, and that's fine. Most of my friends think it's really fun and really cool, and they want to come with me. Yeah, but I do get it. A lot of people have the anti-China sentiment, the anti-DPRK sentiment, and stuff like that, and I get it. And it's just one of those things that most of my friends, if they know me, they understand me and they understand what I do and why I do it. Nico, do North Koreans watch motorsports like Formula One and MotoGP? I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Um, Potentially. I've never asked them. I will write it on my list of things to ask them when I go back. Fabi, so who's the biggest celebs in the DPRK? Definitely those working in film industry. The film industry is really big in North Korea, and so, for example, one of the biggest celebrities is the woman who played the Flower Girl, um, and also those in the Moranbong band. So those in music, just like with us, those in music and those in film are the biggest celebrities. I can't say their names right now just because I can't remember them off the top of my head, but the two big ones are Moranbong band the North Korean girl group, and then also those who starred in big films in the DPRK. So, JP Simmons, you booked the China National Day long tour in October 2020. You think you had Greg as a tour guide? Oh, I'll have to give Greg a shout for you. Yeah, Greg, it was my good colleague, is my good colleague. He's currently studying. And yeah, hopefully we'll be together working again one time, and we'll take you to North Korea. Fabiso, don't they have a German delivery service, DHL, I think? Yeah, randomly. So is DHL in North Korea? I don't know how it works. And it's one of those things I've always been a bit confused about. I think maybe it used to work and now it doesn't. You do see some signs, especially at the art gallery for the DHL service. Maybe it does work, but just out, not in. Either way, I've definitely seen it up as available, and I've also seen a DHL van drive past before. So it's definitely at least was there functioning at one point. Not sure about it anymore. Sapphire, there's a documentary about the North Korean hockey team too. Oh, cool. If you find out what it's called, let me know. I would love to watch it. I haven't heard of it. Whatever. Hi, I'm Korean from South. Hi, 안녕하세요. Um, so Miss Casual Flipper also asked, they have to have a mail courier service, FedEx, DHL, UPS. Yeah, so I think they do have DHL, but even in China, it's hard to get these things on the go. So far, how long do you usually stay in North Korea? What's your visa? Really good question. When I'm there, it completely depends. So what I say on average is that when I go there, I work. When I go there, I go about on average once a month, and that's because sometimes I'll go 2 or 3 times a month. Sometimes I won't go for 2 or 3 months. So on average, it averages out about once a month. And each time it completely varies on how long I'm there. Sometimes I'm only there for 3 days. Sometimes I'm there for 30 days. The longest I've ever stayed there, I think, has been like 32 days, which was a long time. Whatever asks, can you speak Korean? Yeah, I can speak a little bit of Korean. I served on the very front where it's called the DMZ for 2 years. I ran into North Korean soldier who defected over the fence. I can't forget that moment. That's a really crazy, crazy moment to be a part of. I can't imagine what that must have been like. Nate Pano, what are some popular contemporary films from the DPRK? Good question, because I've recently been doing a new series on my channel called DPRK Film Reviews. The only one that I've published so far has been The Flower Girl, but I do have two that I've actually already done and they're like queued up. One would be Comrade Kim Goes Flying. Okay, you guys have to watch this one. This one's a really good one. And that is 2012 production. Really good, actually co-production between Belgium and the UK. Really, really good film. Genuinely funny, kitsch, hilarious, girl power. Love it. And another one that I watched that was really interesting was A Traffic Girl on Crossroads, that provides an interesting insight into the lives of traffic ladies in Pyongyang and female working culture and stuff like that. I found it really interesting. And the other one, I know you asked for contemporary, but I just want to put it out there. Another really famous one is Pulgasari, which is North Korea's answer to Godzilla. Has a very interesting history, so check that out. And I'll also do a video on that at some point. Oh, sorry. And Zephyr also asked, what's my visa? So my visa is a tourist visa when I'm in the DPRK, and basically your visa is valid for however long you need to stay in the DPRK. You don't get like, a 30-day visa and you leave whenever. Your visa is valid for however long your tour is going on for. 반갑습니다. Hi, whatever. 반갑습니다. It means hello in Korean, and it's also a very famous North Korean song. Is 반갑습니다. You definitely hear it on the first time that you ever go to North Korea. There's a great song called 반갑습니다. So, Theron, hi Zoe. I have a question. Hold on. I've always thought about it. I know the DPRK have an intranet, but in their intranet, do they have apps similar to Facebook, Instagram, iMessage? Very good question. The answer to that question is yes and no, and also I don't know. When I was last there in early 2020, they were starting to have these kind of apps. There was even a food delivery app, which was really kind of weird and interesting that they were developing. They have smartphones. Some even have two smartphones. It's funny because the smartphones they get quite. It's kind of like Android versus iPhone that we have in the West. They have two main providers, Arirang and Pyongyang. They're called Arirang or Pyongyang. And basically, if you have Arirang, you really like Arirang. If you like Pyongyang, you think Pyongyang's the best, and everyone kind of argues over it. So that's quite funny. And on them, you do have apps. You have apps that are kind of copies from our apps, like Angry Birds and stuff like that. You do have messaging apps as well, but more like text messages. At the time when I was there, it was more like text messages, not like full-on messaging apps. Um, and there's no social media as far as I'm aware, like Facebook or Instagram, but that could have changed since I have last been there because things have been really changing very quickly in the DPRK recently. Mm. Adam Lother. Is the Imperial Hotel in Dasan the most luxurious hotel there? How come there isn't a lot of photos of it? Really interesting point. I wish I could share photos on here actually, because I was just editing a video and I've just queued it up about Dasan and the Imperial Hotel there. It's not the most luxurious hotel in the whole of the DPRK. It's the most luxurious hotel in Rason for sure, but it's not the most luxurious in the DPRK. Um, Potentially. I mean, maybe some people would argue against that. I don't think so, but I haven't really spent much time there, and I haven't seen the rooms, to be fair. But it is a foreign venture. I think Hong Kong or Macau. So it could very well be actually, but it's a bit of a random one. It's in the middle of nowhere. Already Rason is hard to get to, and then to put that hotel slap bang in the middle of nowhere, is a very, very interesting place. But yeah, I don't know why there's not many photos of it. I have a lot of photos. If you want, I can put them on my Instagram for my next post, if you'd be interested. Nico, about football and sports in the DPRK. There are two books written by an Italian author. I don't know if there are in English versions, but if you find them, I truly recommend them to you. Cool. Let us know what the name is, both in Italian, because we might have some Italian friends listening to us as well. 혹시 일본어도 할 줄 아세요? So Naoki Nakajima asked me if I can speak Japanese. Dekimasu yo. Yeah, I can speak Japanese as well. Languages are my thing, guys. I love languages. If you're ever interested in finding out about how I learned tons of East Asian languages, I do have a playlist on my YouTube as well. What's your favorite North Korean song and or music band? My favorite North Korean song is We Will Go to Mount Paekju by the Morambong Band, who are also my favorite. Give it a listen, guys. It's a good one. Whatever. As a South Korean, I'm wondering that can't really North Korean use YouTube or Google. Absolutely no problem. Your English is not bad. It's better than my Korean. So North Koreans can't use Google or YouTube. They have their own versions. Not quite their own versions of YouTube yet. Potentially by now. I don't know. But at least by last time I was there, they didn't. And Google, they have their own intranet. So it's like an internal net instead of like the internet that we have. So it's not the same. Apparently they made their own Zoom app, which is pretty neat. That's cool. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess they need that for around the pandemic time. Razak H. Hello Zoe, I saw your video on the DPRK Film Festival and that got me interested about the DPRK film culture. Do the people there have their own TV series, box office, and how are they regulated? Very good question. And just by the way, guys, we only have another 10 minutes here. You've been asking so many questions, which is amazing. So I'm going to go over these last questions really quickly. If you have any more questions, get them in the comments box now so that I can make sure to answer them all by the end. So Razak, We've kind of touched on this, so I don't want to stay on this for too long, but they do have their own TV series. They do have their own box office. In fact, the North Korean film industry is massive. It's a big propaganda point. They really, really put a lot of time and effort and money into the film industry. There's a new DPRK film coming out. Like, it came out already in the DPRK. I haven't seen that there's any access to it in the West yet. If anyone finds it, let me know because I really want to watch it. It looks like new level. If you're interested in the DPRK film industry, I have a video on it. I'll probably get it to pop up here later if you're rewatching this. It's like a 20-minute video, but I promise it's totally worth it. It goes really in depth into the North Korean film industry and also gives some film recommendations. Are there any streaming sites of North Korean dramas or films with English subtitles? Um, no, but if you not like a specific one, but if you just type the film onto onto YouTube, then you should be able to find that DPRK film if it's a famous one. If it's a really random one, then you'll have to learn Korean. So Willow, in the DPRK, do they have soda and snack brands? Which is your favorite? They do actually. My favorite snack is actually not a brand, but it's a type of Korean dish, which is a tofu skin and rice and spicy sauce in the middle. That's a really good Korean snack. And in terms of drinks, like soda and stuff, they actually made their own rip-off versions of Coke and Sprite. I'm gonna post a picture of those soon, I think. They literally look exactly like Coke and Sprite. They taste a bit off though. But yeah, no, generally like soft drinks in the DPRK or whatever, like it's nothing amazing. I prefer a bit of soju or beer as well. So Tabizo, I answered a lot of your other questions. This one's a bit tricky. Is Kim Jong Un doing a good job as prime minister? Firstly, he's not prime minister. He's like the leader. I don't know his. I can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember his official title. That is awful. It's because I haven't said it in so long now. But yeah, I don't really talk too much about politics here. But he's certainly done a good job in moving the country forward in a lot of like industries and stuff like that. Stephen Brody, is there any North Korean stereotypes within the DPRK? Like in England, we have Southern softies and hard others. Yeah, really funny. In North Korea, actually not in North Korea. Oh, so there's two. Okay, accents and beauty. And it's on the Korean peninsula as well, not just in North Korea. In Korea, they have a saying "nam nam bungyol," which basically means the women in the south are pretty and the men in the north are handsome. I think I got that the right way around. If our South Korean watches a Great Marshal, yes, thank you, by the way, Bruno. Great Marshal Kim Jong Un, that is the correct title. Can't believe I had to be reminded about that. Yeah, sorry, Stephen Brody. That is one typical thing. If our Korean watchers are still watching, then maybe you can correct me if I said it wrong. But yeah, basically, so they think that the women in the I think it's women in the north are prettier and men in the south are more handsome. I really can't remember. Oh no. Anyway, I think it's women in the north are prettier and men in the south are more handsome. And also in accents. So basically, accents get softer the more south that you go as well. And also food, spicier. Food gets less spicy the more. Oh my gosh, I haven't been there for so long. Food gets less spicy the more northern you go, I think. Yeah. So those are some fun stereotypes. Nico, the author. Okay, so for anyone who wants one on football and in Italian, maybe hopefully in English, have a look at Nico's comment that he just posted with Choloma's Spirit and also Fatherland, People and Medals. Willow, if we visit the DPRK, what tour do you recommend we take? Is it worth leave Pyongyang? Very good question, Willow, and I'm glad you asked. Totally worth leaving Pyongyang. Going to just Pyongyang alone is like going to London and saying that you visited the UK. For me, like, there's the London is so much in its own bubble, and it's the same with Pyongyang. There's so much more to see of the DPRK. Of course, if you don't have the time, if you don't have the money, then just visit Pyongyang. I would really recommend doing at least 5 or 7 days. That way, you're really gonna get a good look inside the country, and it's really gonna be worth your time. You're gonna understand a lot more. A lot of people who I take on like super quick trips, just to Pyongyang, they end up leaving, one, wishing that they'd stayed longer, and two, they end up, not really having seen anything and not really, integrating or fully understanding much of the culture or gaining much from their experience, to be honest. So I would really recommend my favorite tour that I recommend to everyone and that I was supposed to be on with my dad with was the May Day tour, or is the May Day tour, obviously for around the 1st of May. Stay for like 5 or 7 days. If you do the long one, like 10 days, that's my total favorite. It's my favorite tour that I've done the whole time. You spend a lot of time in Pyongyang and then you go down to the DMZ and then you also go to Wonsan. There's so much. And if you're super adventurous, go for the month-long mega tour where you basically go everywhere in North Korea. NF. In DPRK, is there any sense of solidarity with Asians, with other Asians, like with South Asians? Um, do you mean like, yeah, how do you mean? You'd have to clarify that. Asians, like North Koreans and Koreans in general, are they're very proud of their ethnicity and they very much believe that, their strong, pure blood is um is strong and pure. But yeah, for sure, probably. I mean, they have more solidarity, I would say, politically and historically, than ethically, to be honest. If there's no more questions, I'm going to start heading off, guys. It's been almost an hour, so I promised I'd stick around for just under an hour. If you have another question, then do ask it in the next 30 seconds. If not, I'm going to start to head off. Thank you, everyone, for coming to this live stream this time. I hope I managed to answer a few questions. If you do have any more questions, then always hit me up on Instagram, on Patreon. Do consider joining those live sessions on Patreon as well, where we have like community chats and stuff. And then also, yeah, follow me on Instagram and follow me on, all the other channels. Thank you so much, Zephyr. And my pleasure, my absolute pleasure, Mrs. Casual Flipper. And then, yeah, thank you guys. Just on Stephen Brody's last question, do North Koreans get tattoos? Yes and no. Generally, it's a no. It's not in their culture, just like in South Korea, by the way. It's really not in their culture. But people in the army do. So I know at least two North Koreans, that have had tattoos and on show, and they're not like big fancy tattoos. It's just more like army tattoos, but it's not so much in their culture. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. I'm gonna head off. And if you have any other questions, do let me know on Instagram. I'll always answer your questions there, or contact me on Patreon as well. Thank you very much and see you next time. Bye bye.